Good evening. This is my research poster titled Building and Sustaining an Ethical School Community. I will start with organizational context and purpose. My name is Kim Whaley. I'm an assistant principal at Ethel Kite Elementary School. We go by EKES, so I'll refer to us as that many times in this video. Ethel Kite is a pre-K through fifth grade school. We are a Title I school, 100% fully or free and reduced, or free, sorry, free lunch and breakfast. But at Ethel Kite, we pride ourselves on being a family. We pride ourselves on having relationships with students and connections with students being at the forefront of everything that we do. And we value our students and we value their story. We are a very low socioeconomic school. Obviously, we have 627 students. We have one principal and two assistant principals. And as just shown on my poster, our mission centers on creating a culture of where every student feels safe and supported and connected and seen in our school. In my role, I support instruction, assessment, behavior expectations, communication, and then just day to day operations that keep the school moving forward. But at the heart of everything are the students. The students guide every decision. They are at the center of every decision because we want them to have the highest achievement that we could possibly give to them in spite of their circumstances. And one of the challenges that kind of sparked this research poster is the inconsistency across some of our classrooms, especially around how teachers communicate expectations, respond to behavior, and apply discipline. And even sometimes, these things are not intentional, but they can create some inconsistencies that could in turn create inequitable experiences for students and families. For example, some of the things that we've noticed are not everyone follows the PBIS expectations as they are expected to. Some classes use restorative circles while others do not and rely more on individual consequences for students. Some teams, grade level teams, contact parents regularly from the beginning of school. They relay positive messages about students and they get to know their parents, while other teachers sometimes don't contact parents for positive things. They are only contacting parents for negative expectations. And so, in addition to that, some of our expectations for hallway transitions and noise level are just things that are not consistent across our building and can raise some inequitabilities. These things raise questions of what are our shared values and what do we consider ethical practice and how can we create alignment with our values without losing teacher voice or autonomy in the classroom. So, in this presentation, I'll explore some of those questions through the lens of ethical leadership. My personal ethical leadership, my leadership is grounded in fairness, transparency, and just a genuine love and care for people. I want our students and staff and families to see me as approachable, as consistent, dependable, as honest, and transparent. I just want to be who I am all the time, every day. The Georgia Code of Ethics requires me to protect student well-being and model professionalism, but beyond that, it's just the person that I am. I believe in children. I've been in education for over 25 years, and I just fully believe that everyone is valuable: staff, student, family, and I want them to know that, and I strive to have them know that. In addition to that, I've learned so much about Strike's ethical frameworks of justice, care, critique, and professionalism, and I believe that these can also help me to navigate complex decisions that are tough, by balancing people with the principles so that I can keep my care and keep my ability to just care about people, but to also bring the justice and bring the critique and the things that also need to be addressed when there are some complex decisions. I fully believe that I lead with the heart, such as Palestini talks about in the 2011 article. I believe that ethical leadership is just as much about relationships as it is about rules. Three personal behaviors I highlight on the poster about my leadership are self regulation, moral courage, and accountability. At Ethel Kite, self regulation looks like me pausing before reacting, especially with student discipline. When students brought to me for a behavior concern, I listen first. When teachers come to me, I listen first. This helps me to support the child. It helps me to support students and to come up with the best measure possible to handle that situation. I can discover unmet needs or miscommunication sometimes just by listening to teachers and listening to students and what's going on. Moral courage. This plays out when I step into some challenging practices that disadvantage students. For example, when consequences are sometimes more harsh for certain groups of students, or a targeted student in a classroom that I don't feel like is necessarily warranted, or maybe there needs to be some the teacher maybe needs to be respectfully pushed in a different direction for handling a situation. It's for talking to parents about tough situations with students. But just pushing back when things need to be equitable, when feeling like something might need to go a different way, and being able to thoughtfully push back with students, with parents, with teachers in situations. I believe that accountability is important. I believe that being transparent and owning mistakes is important. I believe in modeling what I want others to do, and to the way that I want them to be, students included. I openly share when a schedule mistake was mine, or when a communication should have been more clear, or if I handle a situation more harshly than I should have. I have been known to apologize. I did that as a classroom teacher. I do that as an administrator. If I feel like I handled a situation in a way that maybe I shouldn't have, because I didn't take that self regulation moment, because that happens to all of us sometimes. But I believe that the vulnerability in that strengthens trust, and it shows teachers as well as students that accountability is collective, it's not punitive, and that it's something that we should all strive for. Um, as far as building an ethical team, according to Johnson, small groups make significantly better ethical decisions than individuals, because they can bring diverse perspectives and can model collaboration for the entire school. At Ethel Kite, our grade level teams and leadership team function as ethical micro communities, if you will. We have PLCs, we have a leadership coalition, we have grade level team members, we have a lot of small groups that operate in the best interests of our school. Johnson emphasizes shared values, intentional communication, and transparent decision making, and these are areas that we're actively developing at Ethel Kite. Um, we've established norms for our teams, such as speaking up when things are uncomfortable, to be solution focused and not just be always a problem, a problem, a problem, but let's look for solutions, to be open and to listen to one another, and just to basically assume that people have a positive intent for things, and not necessarily a negative. So communication, this includes protocols for meetings and conflict resolution. We use agendas with standing items like celebrations, concerns, and equity check ins. One specific example is our special team using critical listening rounds. Each teacher shares a challenge, and others paraphrase before responding. This prevents misinterpretation and builds trust. We participate in activities like this during our grade level PLCs, as well as in our leadership coalition, just bouncing ideas around and then checking for understanding with one another. In decision making, ethical teams engage in discussions. So there is sometimes some conflict, but it is conflict that is headed towards resolution. So it is effective conflict, if you will. We are feel in ways like we are free to express. We want our teachers to be able to feel like they can express. I believe that sometimes teachers feel like they are not able to express themselves for fear that someone might say something, and so we try to combat that. We try to make everyone feel like what they say matters at the end of the day, because it does. And so when teams engage this way, we can avoid confusion. We can create a more equitable experiences for our students. Shaping an ethical organization. Um, Johnson states that we must align structures and culture and symbols so that our values aren't just stated, but they are lived out in our schools. I believe that for Ethel Kite, some structural strategies would be clear behavior expectations, possibly rewriting our school wide matrix in student friendly language. Consistent parent communication protocol, for example, contacting parents must occur more frequently and on positive notes versus just negative notes. And then equity checklists for office referrals to ensure that discipline is fair and not influenced by bias. Cultural strategies, which are the norms and the relationships. This is the emotional climate of Ethel Kite, incorporating shout outs in our faculty meetings for behavior and not just for compliance. This is something that we do in our newsletter, our weekly newsletter. We do shout outs for different things, but not so much for ethical behavior, for things that teachers are doing or students are doing in this way. I think also just being able to encourage teachers to bring concerns forward, to have, for all of us to have an open mind to hear one another, and to share the things that are on our minds, and the creating shared rituals that reinforce optimism and collective responsibility throughout our building. Some visual or visible markers, some symbolic strategies. Administrators greeting students in the morning and modeling being friendly and being seen. This is something that we strive to do, that I think we could probably do more of, is meeting our students every morning, being greeting our teachers in the morning, a routine of going around our building and talking to every teacher every morning. Just a quick good morning, not a 5-minute conversation, but just a quick good morning, so that we make eye contact with every teacher in the building every day. Having our PBIS celebrations that recognize not only achievement but growth and effort, and then just consistent language around belonging and respect, used on posters and videos. I believe that when structures and culture and symbols echo the same values, that our organization, our school, can become more ethical and also more stable as a result. Some anticipated challenges and systems. I believe the final section of my poster addresses the most important idea, and that is that ethical culture is not just a checklist. It has to be interconnected. It has to be something that we live to do. I think that we need from communication to schedules to discipline to teacher expectations, that it all has to be merged and connected together. We anticipate some challenges, such as just tired of change. Our teachers are constantly having to do different changes, so fatigue with change, competing beliefs about discipline and equity. Every teacher has a different opinion and a different belief, and coming together on those and finding some common ground among all of our teachers. And then some gaps in accountability across teams. Johnson warns that ethical decline often begins through unspoken concerns and ignored inconsistencies or decisions that are made in isolation. And that's why it's so important for us to have transparency and routine monitoring that are essential. So, some strategies that can be implemented are professional learning prior to implementing new things. Before launching new school-wide things, there should be some professional learning for teachers. To this includes some equity training, some conflict norms, and restorative language training. Continual feedback, teacher surveys, even those like a Google form to ask teachers, where they are and what they're feeling and what are their concerns and how can we support and what are their thoughts about certain things. Walkthrough data by admins, PBIS reports, and a better report of teacher feedback for our monthly PBIS meetings, and then parent feedback. And we plan to monitor grade level consistency in discipline. It can be monitored so that we can identify um, the different behaviors that are being recorded and referred in different grade levels, not to punish, but just to intervene and support those teachers if there are behaviors that we need to work on. And then just alignment across our systems, schedules, communication, expectations, and administrative decisions, everything being reviewed to ensure that we reinforce the same ethical commitments with one another. And by seeing the school as an interconnected system, I think that's where we can build an ethical culture that's intentional, coherent, and sustainable. I believe that Ethel Kite is grounded in the belief that every child's story matters. Our work begins with a clear purpose, creating a safe, consistent, and student centered environment, and that by aligning our personal leadership team practices and organizational systems, we can build a community where fairness and connection can guide every decision. And sustaining an ethical community is not just one initiative, it's not just one thing, but it's a commitment that we have to renew every day, every month, just through clarity, through feedback, through just a continual look and a continual look and a continual look to keep ourselves grounded and consistently caring for students at the utmost. Thank you.